Mario Party is full of minigames that are fun and harmless, at least for the most part. In 1999, when the first Mario Party game came out in North America for the Nintendo 64, unsuspecting children like me realized just how dangerous Mario Party really was. With the release of the latest game in the series, Mario Party Superstars, I was reminded of a painful and horrifying moment playing the original Mario Party for the N64. To this day, I never experienced anything like it. There's one minigame you can play that's not a traditional board game. In Mario Party's Village Square Hub, there is a mushroom shop where you can buy various items with coins. One of those items is a curious Shy Guy toy called Mecha Fly Guy. Once purchased, you can use it by going to the minigame house. Basically, the toy lets you play a minigame where you have 10 seconds to wind up the toy by rotating the controller's thumbstick as fast as you can to see how far the toy can fly. It sounds easy enough, it sounds harmless, but you would be sorely mistaken, because simply rotating the thumbstick with your thumb like a normal human being wasn't good enough. You could get the toy to stay in the air for maybe 3 seconds using your thumb before the toy pathetically fell to the ground. But there was this feeling like you had to make the toy stay in the air for much longer. Lending credence to this was that the Shy Guy would taunt you, saying things like, "Is that all you got? Come on, give me your best shot. That's still not quite it." And the more derogatory, "That was so-so, spin it right, without too much muscle."
So-so, suck my
This made it seem like you not only had to reach a certain time, but you had to make the toy fly all the way around the room and get it to land back on the table. Based on this tool-assisted run, the toy would have to stay in the air for approximately 12 seconds, with the player spinning the analog stick 100 times. But was this even humanly possible? Players like me decided to find out. It was obvious that the only real way to spin the analog stick fast enough was to use the palm of your hand instead of the thumb. It was more effective, but no matter how fast you were, it just wasn't fast enough. At best, most players seem to only get up to 6 or 7 seconds with 54 spins, which was far from the 12 seconds and 100 spins needed. Some players even resorted to wearing gloves, sleeves, and socks to add extra grip and protection. But surprisingly, it still wasn't enough. Not only that, but watching someone play this minigame just didn't look right.
Oh, Jesus.
I personally failed many times at this challenge, and after digging up my old N64 and a copy of Mario Party, which thankfully both worked, I found out that my best record was 8.43 seconds and 60 spins. Even though I fell short, I can tell you right now that achieving that record was the most physically intense and painful thing that I've ever experienced while playing a video game. In fact, it was so painful that this happened. The skin in the palm of my hand peeled off. Other players also experienced the same thing, as seen in these pictures. However, it wasn't just the Shy Guy minigame that was causing injuries. Paddle Battle, Castaways, Deep Sea Divers, and Pedal Power also damaged players' hands, since the minigames required you to rotate the controller's analog stick as well. The most infamous minigame, however, may be Tug of War, which players often cite as the reason for their injuries. Tug of War is a 1 vs 3 minigame in which players compete in a tug of war match, and whoever can rotate the analog stick faster wins. As if participating in a real-life tug of war match, players not only had the palm of their skin peeled off, but some even occurred friction burns, blisters, cuts, punctures, and bleeding.
Alright, that one hurt. Not gonna lie, that one hurt. I'm going Super Saiyan and losing my hand. Oh, it's fine. There's no blood yet. At some point, it starts hurting so much that it doesn't hurt. You know what I'm saying? Check it out. Ooh, that's getting bigger. That's actually getting concerning.
Hello? Hello? Dude! Are you serious right now? Are you effing kidding me? Dude! Fall off! Are you what? Dude, my hand! It's burning! Dude!
Draw.
Get the fucking plan! Get this! I am all in this man! You will do nothing! Blood of Jesus!
It wasn't even my hand, it's my fucking shoulder that's hurting so bad.
God, look at that! It's all ashy and gross!
Do y'all need some tampons for your hands there?
Is this it?
Alright, you gotta glove up.
Yep.
Alright.
Okay, so we're gonna be
Rotate
on the
to
right.
paddle. The quality
You
of my
gotta go
hand.
for broke. You
This
gotta go
is-
for broke, Jeff. Ah!
Still, my hand hurts.
Oh, this is
I don't like this. My hand hurts.
It really does hurt. Even with the glove, it hurts.
This doesn't feel good at all.
This glove
This
does
is bad for
nothing.
my hand. This is not okay. Get poked, son.
This really does hurt.
I could like start a fire.
I think it,
It's
yeah,
hot.
I think
My
it,
hand is hot.
Yeah.
It's dark and hell is hot.
I think it hurts more as an
DMX
adult.
Mid-Stars now.
How long is this?
Fuck all video games.
25 minutes. Oh, Mario's out of coins. Out of coins. Wait, did we just make Mario go for broke?
That is serious.
Like
Like,
at the end of it, Mario's just sitting there just like, oh, man.
That's why the last one it was dry.
how's your hand?
It's
red.
Yeah, it's red. Even with the glove.
How long is this minigame? Dude, how long is this one? Okay, there we go.
The issue was so serious that the New York Attorney General's office stepped in after receiving numerous complaints from parents. One kid got a tetanus shot, said Attorney General spokeswoman Christy Pritchard, who added, "The alarming thing was how little time some of these children spent playing the game before they were injured. One parent said their child had been playing the game for 15 to 20 minutes when they got a second-degree burn." Nintendo, who said that they received almost 100 complaints themselves, ended up settling with the Attorney General's office by sending out 4 pairs of protective gloves to any US customer who bought Mario Party and could provide proof of purchase. However, according to CNET, providing proof of purchase was an elaborate task. A YouTuber named Cake, who made a video about the Mario Party injuries, relayed a Redditor's claim that you actually had to send in a sketch of your hand so Nintendo could get you the right size glove. These are the gloves that Nintendo apparently sent out. Generic looking, non-Nintendo branded, fingerless sports gloves. Yes, Nintendo sent out sports gloves in order for young kids to play a video game, which was marketed to children between 7 to 13 years old. In the end, Nintendo committed up to $80 million to cover the cost of the gloves, and agreed to pay $75,000 to the Attorney General's office to cover the cost of the investigation. As of December 1999, which was 11 months after Mario Party launched in North America, 1.15 million copies of the game had already been sold in the US. In an attempt to prevent further injuries, Nintendo created this notice in Nintendo Power magazine, warning players not to use the palm of their hand to play Mario Party. If that wasn't enough, Nintendo also made a pre-recorded message for its Mario Party Tips hotline, which according to CNET, advised players to quote, "Avoid injuries simply by manipulating the joystick with their thumb and forefinger rather than the palm of the hand." Part of the reason why people were even getting hand injuries was that the tip of the N64 controller's analog stick was a hard piece of plastic with grooves etched in. It didn't have a rubber tip like what modern controllers have nowadays. As such, this contributed to what some players called Mario Party Palm. Memes about it were even created online, and some even took Mario Party Palm as a badge of honor. However, most players lamented the pain that the game caused them. One Reddit user, named Thick and Little, wrote, "I remember the Mecha Fly Guy minigame and others. I had friction burns, blisters, and bloody palms that eventually became calluses from playing that game. It was so much faster to manipulate the joystick with the palm of the hand than the finger and thumb, as Nintendo told people to do." While Mario Party never explicitly said to use the palm of your hand, the game's official Japanese commercial did show actors using the palm of their hands to play the game.
Mario Party.
Online, users left comments and shared their horror stories of when they played Mario Party back in the day. My hand never forgot the pain. Rest in peace all human hands that had to deal with this minigame. This game made my hand bleed. The blisters, the horrifying blisters. This minigame is evil. Sacrifice several controllers to the Nintendo gods here. Mario Party, the destroyer of controllers. I can silently hear the control sticks being rotated violently, and the screams of people complaining about their hands getting bruised or blistered. I always feared the joystick rotation games. I ended up with huge calluses on my hand because of this. F the joystick rotation minigames, man. I remember grinding the minigame challenge island as a kid. These games were brutal. My hand would have all the veins enlarged on the palm, and pretty bad burns. I remember having to explain the wound to my mom. I lied so she wouldn't take the N64 away. And then there's this comment from Reddit user Jesser9, who vividly described that the joystick pierced the skin of my palm and got lodged under my skin. I could raise my hand and the controller stayed there, suspended. To this day, Nintendo has apparently never released Mario Party 1 on Virtual Console. And according to Crappy Games Wiki, the Mario Party backlash resulted in the series never getting another heavy stick rotation minigame for 14 years. It wasn't until the Nintendo 3DS's Mario Party Island Tour that the stick rotating minigames re-emerged. Not only that, but in a surprise and bizarre move, Nintendo actually ended up bringing back the infamous Tug of War minigame in Mario Party Superstars for the Nintendo Switch. The game has the exact same stick rotating controls, but now there's a warning message that's displayed on the screen that says, "Do not play using the palm of your hand or other areas with sensitive skin." Another version of the message states, "To avoid irritation to your skin and or damage to the control stick, do not rotate it with the palm of your hand." These disclaimers no doubt protect Nintendo from liability, but some people believe that most players wouldn't even notice or read the messages. Maybe Nintendo should have just changed the controls to avoid any potential injuries. It's possible that Nintendo isn't worried about players getting Mario Party Palm this time around, since the Switch's Joy-Con controller sticks are more comfortable than the ones on the N64 controller. But considering the Joy-Con controllers have a drifting issue, which is when the analog sticks move on their own without being touched, playing a game like Tug of War doesn't seem like a good idea. And according to GameSpot, Tug of War is just one of 12 minigames from Mario Party 1 that was included in Mario Party Superstars. So out of the 50 minigames that are in Mario Party 1, Nintendo ended up choosing the one that got them in legal trouble. Upon further investigation, it appears that at least the Mecha Fly Guy minigame was left out of Superstars, which is probably for the best. This minigame is the only time I ever got a physical injury from playing a video game, and I'll never forget the pain it caused. Oh, and if you're wondering if there was any reward for making the Shy Guy toy go all the way around the room, it turns out that all of your hard work is rewarded with this message. That's it, a lousy message. And the toy doesn't even land back on the table, it just falls to the ground as if it meant nothing.